thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to this episode of the Change for African campaign. And so, fellow Africans, being on Tuesday is all about our second pillar of the Change for African campaign, which is all about the potential that we have as an African continent. And so, fellow Africans, being on Tuesday today about the potential in the African context. Of course, some of the things or the topics we bring on the table, mostly these are a global aspiration that have been put in place, and more so because we are now focusing totally on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals. But then now remember, we have now actually gone to another level of dealing with the key targets of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and there are so many. And so that is our take through the last 40 episodes that we'll be doing. So this is our 67th episode of the Change for African campaign, and we are glad to have you on the board as we today go through a target and a goal number 8, which is all about the decent work and economic growth. I remember we have spoken about this goal of the United Nations. As a fellow Africans, the very key target is all about substantially reducing the proportion of youth unemployment, education or training as by 2020. Remember, it was an aspiration, and that by 2020, just 5 years after the goals were adopted by the United Nations in 2015, and it should be saying that was very ambitious. Of course, that is according to they were looking at that in the global perspective. And remember now, this one now we are bringing this in the African context and trying to see where are we currently, and just checking that is it still achievable? Are we able to reach and be able to achieve this goal of the United Nations? Because remember, Africa is part of the global stage, and when speaking about the global stage, any progress, Africa is also part of the evaluation. And so once you see that there's some lagging or any report being the report being released in any forum, as long as it is a global aspiration that was put in place, Africa is part of it. So when you see the report is lagging, or you see maybe the report is not working so well, just put in mind that Africa has a huge contribution to the report or to the progress of that goal, either if it is lagging or if the progress is good. So if it's lagging, remember, Africa is part of the global, and Africa is whereby many of the countries, it's a continent whereby we are yet to have that robust growth in terms of just being able to implement it and make some considerable and great steps in what we put in place or what we adopt in different fields. And so this goal about substantially reducing the rate of unemployment, especially for the youth, because remember, when we speak about youth in Africa, this is a very huge resource. It's a human resource, it's a powerhouse. Actually, Africa is the powerhouse of the young minds, people who are very ambitious and ready to make sure that they shift the way things are being carried out in Africa. And the potential of it is that there's that potential and there's that ability of Africa to be able to be a great continent. There's that capability in it, that let me say that contingency that Africa is able to, has that potential, and it has whatever it takes to be able to bridge the gap of especially the youth unemployment, because this is a huge population whereby as they grow, there will be these are the people who will be many people depend on such young minds. And so once such minds have no good employment opportunities, then that shows that many of the population will continue to be in the state of destitute. So Africa has the potential to be able to uplift or to be able to create some sane environments for its youth to be able to create sane employment and decent work. That's why the goal says decent work. And so the substantial reduction in the youth unemployment, or even also education and also training, all these are things that correlate. They work, let me say, they do work hand in hand, they complement each other. So we need to make sure that when it comes to unemployment, is related to the education we are getting. It's also related to the training we are getting in different sectors and in different higher institutions for education. So Africa has that potential to be able to bridge the gap of youth unemployment. So we need to see what are these bold decisions and steps that we need to take to be able to bridge the gap. Then we need to come up with some great ideas, and we do have ideas. particularly I speaking. We do have great ideas that can be able to solve or salvage the problem of unemployment in Africa, especially for the young people of the African continent. So fellow Africans, these are issues of concern. These are issues that they need to be. These are now the real issues that people should be speaking about when it comes to development. These are things that people should be arguing about, more so in the political spaces, because these are spaces whereby people, just a few individuals, have been given the privilege and granted the powers to be able to lead their population or be able to do some development. So they have been given everything when it comes to the resources and all this. So this is the space whereby instead of people being more political, they need to make sure that in discussions of ideas they focus mostly on the things that concern the human beings, on the things that are all about the well-being of the human society, the well-being of the youth of their continent, instead of being more political. So we have the potential, we can do it. Africa is a land of great potential. So fellow Africans, we have the potential. Thank you. That was about our second pillar of the Change for African campaign. Let's have our third pillar. It comes tomorrow. We'll be doing our 68th episode of the Change for African campaign, all about the resources that we have as an African continent. Thank you and have an interesting meeting.